Good morning, Grace Tribe. It is wonderful to get to be with all of you this morning. Let me ask you a question. Most of us don't really seem to struggle with believing that Jesus matters in our day-to-day life. I don't think that is like if I said, hey, Jesus really does matter today to you, most of you'd be like, oh, yeah, sure, of course, absolutely. He's everything to me. Most of us really aren't struggling with believing that Jesus matters. We struggle with believing how much he matters there in that circumstance, in that relationship, in that job, in that financial struggle, and that health issue, that's what matters, that he is what matters there. Does that make sense? We struggle maybe believing that Christ is what matters at work, that Christ is what matters in that relationship, that Christ is what matters in the places where expectations are real and outcomes feel personal. I am hurting today. I am moving slowly. I'm running a little late getting the show started. I mean, all of 30 seconds, but I do not like running late to the show. I know several of y'all are ready to go, and I get excited about that. And it's hard in the midst of not being able to move quick enough to get stuff done that when I sit down and I'm already running late, and I want to get the show started, that my computer is not working. So I literally just now go, come on, because in that moment where the panic button, my finger is hovering over the panic button. In that moment, it's hard to be thinking what matters right now in this is Christ. Not the computer, not the pain, not the people waiting on me, but Christ. In the places where expectations are real and outcomes are personal, and we feel like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and things are not going the way they're supposed to be going. Or maybe it's caring in that stressful moment. Do I care that Christ is life in the middle of a heated conversation where what we really need seems like not Christ, but understanding from that person, a doctor who will listen, a solution to a problem, a dollar in the bank account. What seems like really matters in this moment is not Christ. What matters is not Christ, but this thing, this challenge, this issue, this fear. This, whatever this is, in that, wherever that might be, work, relationships, anything else, this issue in that circumstance, those moments, this in that moment, this need in that circumstance, that venue, this in that moments get strung together. There's one after another with little breaks occasionally in between. And less as time goes on, less and less breaks from this in that moment. I need this in that circumstance. I need the kid to call me when he's running late in the middle of the night. I need this. I need that person to respond to me when I put my heart and soul into what I'm wanting them to understand, and they're not replying. This is what I need in that circumstance. And this in that moments get strung together until we're kind of missing all of Christ for this and missing him in all the there circumstances. We miss him instead of this and him in all the theirs along the way. It becomes habitually insufficient. That Christ is wanting, as we talked about yesterday, to hold my hand while I'm being beaten over the head by a circumstance. Thanks for that. We believe that Christ is our life. I think most of the people who are listening today, because most of you have been listening for a while, we believe the idea that Christ is our life. We're just not sure how that helps us at 1:47 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon when the bank is empty and the project is late and the kids are rebelling and I don't know what I'm doing for dinner. My friends, I want to talk about how, for Paul in Philippians chapter 1, to live is Christ is not theory. It's not a good idea. It's not a principle around which we make decisions. I think our theology is sometimes getting in the way of our real experiential day-to-day meeting God in the deep moments of life, which are increasingly shallow. If we're missing him in the deep things, we're going to miss him in the shallow things. Is this resonating with you? I believe more than ever before that Jesus Christ is life. It is not what is happening in the circumstance, and it's not how I get from him what I want through the circumstance. He's the life in the circumstance. He is the this. This is the thing I need. It's Christ. In all the that's, the venues where I am needing things. He is the thing I need in all the venues that I need it. And I have mistaken frequently and regularly him is the means to some other need. I want to encourage you today. Paul was not writing theology. It was the furthest thing from his mind. He was saying, look at me. Look at me. I'm sitting in jail about to be executed, having run my race. And I can tell you, in the end, I was wrong about everything I was living for but him. He really is the life. He really is the life. I am walking through the second week of just, and I know this is less rare this last many months, but I'm just in extraordinary pain, tearful pain, like blurring eyes trying to get the computer working before we go live, pain. And like not able to work the computer unless I'm holding myself up with my hands on my desk, pain. And, crying out, putting on my socks because I can't bend over, pain today, this morning, right before we start. And it's chill here. So I want socks. And that doesn't seem like a great demand. And then I start to resent that it's so hard to flip and put socks on so that I can come down to the basement where I have an office and do a live broadcast for free for people I love. This doesn't seem like a big demand of life. I just want socks to be able to do the live broadcast to impact people's worldview of what life really is. Socks would be nice. And so I start to resent how hard it is when Christ, who is with me and enough for me, is my life. I don't know how to be more practical in this. I want to talk about the he's enough when socks are hard kind of life that is Christ in you in this moment. And I'm laughing and smiling and crying in the middle of all of this. I don't want to distract from the point, but I want to make it real. It's always that sort of double bind of these things. I want it to be real for you. And so my hope for you today is the incredible joy and power of the reality operating according to the truth, the actual reality that Christ really is the life, that walking through the impossible venues, it's not about how you get through and how you get it done. It's holding his hand on the journey. It really is the relational process that is your life, not the outcome of the circumstances. And that seems so hard. But listen, if you could know Christ in this, then it redeems whatever seems lacking there. If you caught the beginning, we were talking about what we need is this in the venue of there. And if we can embrace that he is always the this, wherever the there, this is what I need there. He is not absent from my pain this morning, and he is not absent from the demands of your day ahead, and he is not absent when you're hovering over the panic button because you think you don't have what you need. When you do, back away from the panic button and hold the hand of Christ who is with you and in you and enough for you in this there. We're going to look at some verses together. We're going to have a little application question, but I just want to be there's no point in doing this if we're not going to be real, because life change does not happen in theory. It's got to be real. It's got to be now. It's got to be right here and now for you and for me. And I'll start because I don't have a choice. Man, we are going to have a great talk today because this is everything. Christ really, really is life, which is not really what we think. We think that in theory. And then he, by his grace, puts us in circumstances where the theory better be real. And we forget to thank him for putting us in circumstances where he really better be the life. Praise God, he is. Let's do this. Awakening souls to our life in Christ. My name is Mike Q. Daniel, and we are celebrating all that we have in Christ Jesus by grace. Be sure to share your questions or prayer requests at MikeQDaniel.com. And I want to welcome you to Mike Q. Daniel Live with the Grace Tribe. Woohoo! Good morning, Grace Tribe. Listen, if Christ truly is our life, if we're often mistaking our life for the circumstances and our responsibilities and the outcomes that we need and the responses that we need and the finances that we need and the health that we need and the work that we need to be able to do to get the results that we need from it, if we mistake the circumstance, the this is what I need and all of the there moments of our life, if we miss that Christ truly is our life by grace in the circumstances, then my friends, we are missing out on life in every circumstance because he really is it. And if he really is life, then why do our jobs and relationships and family and finances and health, pain, fitness issues still feel like places where we have to stay alert, stay sharp, stay in control, under the pressure to make things work, and then feeling jilted by the circumstances and venues and people that keep us from being able to do what is necessary in order to get what we need. So then we're embittered and looking at the obstacles as unfair and unjustifiable. My friends, in the middle of all of that, Christ is the life, not the thing, not the responsibility, not what I deserve or how well I do or what I deserve because I couldn't do any better. That's being a victim. You are not a victim. You're just trying to win something by your self-justified effort. And, if what I deserve is hell, a little back pain is nothing. But what I get is Christ because he has made me worthy of what only he can accomplish. He has done it. He has given me that worth. That doesn't mean that I have earned or deserved what he graciously supplies. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Mitzi. Good morning, Carolyn. Glad you got your audio to work. I think you did. Hope you did. Donna, good morning. Rob, wonderful to see you. Neil, wonderful to see you. One of our newest team members at the MQD group. I'm glad you're here. Most of us, my friends, don't lean on work or relationships because we're ambitious so much, at least Christians, for the most part, as we mature, lose some of that ambition. And it's not just fear of failure, like we are getting worth from that. And if we don't get it, then we feel devalued. It's quieter than that. It's a quieter stressor underneath these things, in part because we're accomplishing what needs to be done. So we're not stressed about starving as much as we are stressed about that underlying tension about what we're getting for what we're doing, and that it should be working better than it is, and that people misunderstand me, but I can choose to be okay anyway. This constant friction between how well we do and how well things go. If I'm not doing very well, then I have really good excuses for it. So I'm bitter that it doesn't go better. This is the constant undercurrent, on top of which we like the theology of Christ is my life. If I don't stay engaged in this otherwise panicked moment, if I don't keep the wheels turning, even though one of the cart's wheels, doesn't turn, so I'm constantly fighting that left hand hang in the grocery store. If I don't push through this problem, if I don't stay fully activated or mostly activated, then something important, my kids, my health, my future, my relationships, something important might fall apart. This responsibility to hold it together is what I'm often trusting God for, instead of trusting Him to be the life, instead of the thing I'm trying to hold together. Do you see the tension of that? We believe that Christ is life in theory. We like the idea. But what we need in this moment, in the actual here and now, is this there. Yes, Christ is my life, but I need my kids to be home, or I'm going to panic that they're injured somewhere on the side of the road. Yes, what I need is Christ is my life and my wife's understanding, because I can't be wrong in her eyes. I lose all value if that happens. Can't be misunderstood. I'm wrong enough when I'm understood rightly. I certainly shouldn't be seen as wrong when I'm just being misunderstood and I'm actually right. No, I need this in that. I need this there. It shows up in the email that you reread 3 times before sending. There's a pressure to do it well enough to get what you need, to not be misunderstood, to do what's most effective. And usually after you read it 3 times and send it, you wish you hadn't sent it at all. It's the conversation that you're rehearsing in the shower. It's the meeting where you feel your chest tighten before you speak. Wish you hadn't, or wish you had done it differently. This constant pressure for what you should do, for what you need. It's the disappointment when you're not recognized, or the anxiety that builds when the loved one doesn't respond to a message very quickly. Oh no. What's happened? Are they mad? Are they hurt? Are they gone? Have they lost their phone again? What's happened? If you relate to this, welcome to humanity. And if you're pretending you aren't, it's time to get real. It's time to be authentic, because this is the human experience. The mature understand that our life in Christ is not without the obstacles of lying beliefs that God is peeling away layer by layer for us to trust Him more. There is more trust. There's not more of God, but there's more of Him to know and trust as our life. You have all of Him, but you've not experienced all of Him. So what does to live as Christ, quote unquote, actually mean when letting go of the outcomes of every circumstance and not being embittered by the obstacles in every venue? when letting go of our rights and justifications to be upset that it's hard, when our trying to overcome for what we need in the circumstances seems perfectly reasonable. What does it mean to live as Christ when letting go of those things feels so risky? What if the kid blows up his life? Then I've failed as a parent, and their life can never be unwound the way they have wound it. How do I disentangle the misunderstanding so I'm not pigeonholed in my boss's error of me? Philippians 1:21. Paul is writing from imprisonment in Rome. He's in Rome, and he's about to be killed, and God has given him a sense of it. Maybe he wanted me to write to Rome, which I did because I couldn't get here very quickly. And then the way that I got here was by voluntary imprisonment. They were going to send me home, and I demanded a trial as a Roman citizen in Rome. So they transported me here, and God did lots of things along the way. We got shipwrecked on, Malta, and the island got saved. And I met with all kinds of folks that turned into missionaries to their areas as I came here. And now they have put me in prison, and the trial that I asked for when they were going to set me free is about to get me killed because I'm seen as a danger in Rome more than a citizen who deserves to be freed. For me, to live is Christ. And to die, talk about panic button moments. Oops, that was a miscalculation. I demand a trial in Rome as a Roman citizen. We're going to take you there and kill you. So when he's in Rome writing to Philippi, one of his dearest, most supportive church family groups. The fellowship that he met with and started. Talk about church planting. He didn't launch an organization. He gathered together believers in their homes and loved on them with the truth. It was body life, not church organization. I'm on a mission to plant a church. No, it was building family that were co-heirs in Christ with him. And as he loved on them with the truth of the revelation of Christ as life, they grew together more deeply than any other association in their life. They built an associative identity around the indwelling presence of Christ for all who put their hope in his finished work on the cross. And he walked them through that, and then he walked on to share life and give away life to other people, so much so that he ended up having left Philippi and then being interrupted by the Ephesians who begged him not to go, and on and on and on. He just came all the way to Rome to die. And his words to this group that he loves and did life with and wants to honor, but also correct and encourage. He says, listen. For me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. I'm good. Paul is not being poetic. He's being precise. He cannot say this more precisely, with greater precision. Christ is life. Nothing else is life. Not Christ plus anything is life. Nothing less than all of Christ is life. Christ alone, totally, completely, nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. Christ alone, not what I get from him, not the experience that I gain. Christ is the one and only life. Christ is life. It is precision. This verse is not about devotion. I love Christ. I'm willing to die for him. My whole heart is for. This isn't about devotion. It's about source. You think they're going to kill me, and that has something to do with my life, but Christ is my life, and they cannot, with sword or rebuke or isolation or humiliation, they cannot take what is not theirs to give. It's about source. In my pain, Christ is my life, not pain or lack of pain. In my finances, Christ is my life, not figuring out my finances or doing what it takes and getting what I deserve or anything else. Christ is the life. He's the this in every that. When Paul says to live is Christ. It is Christ. To live is Jesus Christ himself. To me, it is not what he does as we walk together and I, make a big deal about him. It's not how well I do because he's empowered me, as much as that sometimes happens. When Paul says to live is Christ, he is not saying I try to live for Christ. Or if I trust Christ, he's the one that gives me the things that makes my life worthwhile. To live is Christ means he's saying Christ is my life. Living really is him. If you can know Christ more personally and relationally today, mission accomplished. If you do not know him more, because he is not the goal, to know him in this, there, then the mission is not accomplished today. Now, God is sovereign and he'll use the missteps of today to give you greater revelation of him tomorrow if you come around. But he's the life today. Not what you want from him, not what you do for him, not what he does for you. He is. To live is him, is Christ himself. Paul makes this. We don't want that to be the truth. We want him to be the means of what we think we're living for in the moment. Living for Christ, for what you want from him, is really living for what you want from him. Can I say that again? It's tempting to make excuses as you hear this. But we're still here. We still have to eat. Stop. If you die, if you starve today, Christ is your life. Yeah, but people are mean. Yes, they are. Praise God, they're not your life. You're never going to make that other economy work. Just own it now, and it's time to move on. It's time to grow up. I know this is a harsh word for those of you who are used to being victims and having excuses, but your life is not how great your family is to you or how bad they are to you. Your life is not how anyone ever treated you. Your life is not who's misunderstood you. Your life is not what you've been able to build of your business or ministry, no matter how much credit you give to the glory of God. It is not what he gave you. Eve was not Adam's life. That was the mistake that he made. That was the deception that led to rebellion. You can play the victim and say, but it's not my fault. And God would say, it wasn't your responsibility. Your job is to live for me and for me and know me. And this is a perfect opportunity to know me instead of an excuse for you being a victim. Paul said, I don't think any of you have yet given your life for your love of God. I don't think that's happened yet, or you wouldn't be reading my letter. So since you're reading my letter, you have yet to fight hell. It just feels like it in the moment. Maybe you have not given up everything for God yet. Paul makes this really clear, unmistakable, throughout his letters, and we gloss over them as theology that sounds good, as ideals to strive for, and we miss him in all the moments that matter. In Galatians 2:20, as you know, it says, It is no longer I who live. That sounds like you're free of the responsibility of the outcomes. And he goes on to say, it's now Christ who lives in me. He places the responsibility for what life is on Christ. And we like that in theory, so long as it turns into the life that we want and avoids the life that we hate, because we mistake our circumstances for the life. In Colossians 3:4, he's talking about where you are setting your heart and mind, your desires built around the spiritual reality, and your focus built around the spiritual reality of your life in Christ with the Father in spiritual union right now with him where he is. And he says, when he shows up, you're going to show up with him, because Christ, who is your life, when he appears, you're going to see things as they really are. You're having a hard time now, and that's okay. He's no less your life that you don't get it all the time. But when he shows up, when he who is your life appears, you're going to see all that you have and all that you are in him more clearly. All of his glory. He shows up in glory. You're going to appear with him because you're part of it with him. But he says, Christ, who is your life. That's how he describes him. Paul is trying to get a point across. He says it over and over. You're in him, he's in you. His spirit is in you. You're in union with his spirit. You're in union with God by his spirit. He who ascended sent his spirit to live in and through you. You are in Christ. He is your life. There is no other. He is not the means to the circumstances you want to call your life. Under the new covenant, Christ is not added to your life, nor is he adding life to you from something else. He supplies it, and it is him. You've got him. It's done. There is no more. Everything else is just the context of the story, and the story is Christ. If it's a stormy day, Christ is your life on a stormy day. If it's a sunny day, then Christ is your life on a sunny day. Let's stop making our life about the weather. Your workplace was never meant to be your safety net. Your relationships were never meant to carry your sense of okayness. Your work and your relationships and your family are the venues, not the sources of life. They're the context. Christ is the content. We get that backwards, and we're living for the creature and the created things, not the creator. And I'm not talking about devotion. I'm not talking about you living more for him. I'm saying recognizing he's the life, so you're okay. I'm inviting you to trust him for him, because he's enough, instead of trusting him for everything else all the time, and then being bitter and confused that he's not giving you life from inanimate objects and circumstances. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but your relationship with Christ is eternal life in the here and now. It is not what you want from him. It's okay to want it. Of course I want it. Do I want to be in pain today? Absolutely, I want to be free of pain today. Is my life more or less because of my pain level? Because, my friends, that's just the weather of a broken body in a fallen world. Your relationships were never meant to carry your sense of okayness, and your responsibility to them does not get you what you want from them. They will never be your life. Your life is not improved if your neighbors get upgraded. Your life is not diminished if your sleep is deprived. Those things are not your life. They're the venues, not the sources. Christ is the source, and the life he provides is himself, and he's already yours. And you feel like you're losing something if you believe him. Here's the sentence that most of us quietly resist. I'm just putting it out there and challenging your faith. I just am today. because that's where I am. I've got to believe he's it in this, that he's the this in the there of my pain today. Otherwise, I would not be on. Listen, if Christ is your life, if you believe that, not a theology that you layer on top of what you really want. If Christ really is your life, then nothing in your day is allowed to threaten your okayness. I am not less okay because I am in debilitating pain. I'm going to cry because it hurts. I have and I will. It's just, I did before I came on. I cranked up some music. I cranked up a worship song thinking it would lift my spirits, and it just broke my heart. I just bawled as I'm trying to set up my computer. And then running even later still, I couldn't get the computer to work. And so in my emotion, I'm like, ah. If Christ is your life, then nothing in your day is allowed to threaten your okayness. Not the pain, not the computer, not the misunderstanding, not the difficulty or ease, not the comfort or the finances or the relationships, not the environment, not the weather, not the politics, not any outcome, not the response, not the thing that you're waiting to hear back about. None of that gets to threaten your okayness because Christ is life. And to live, if at all, is him. There's no panic. There is no panic when the life you need is the life you have. And the life you have isn't contingent on anyone or anything else. There is no panic button. Oh no, my kids are running late. Listen, you are not sovereign. You're not losing control. You never had it. God is working and you just have to trust him, and not everything is going to go your way, and people are going to make their own mistakes. If God isn't forcing his desire for relationship upon you, then you're not going to be able to force healthy decisions on your kids. It's just not going to happen. That's not how God works. Good thing they are not your life. Never say, my kids are my life. Well, that's called idolatry. Say, Christ is my life, and he's going to bring about what is best for my kids, which sometimes is going to come through hardship. And I want to be available for what he is actually doing in their life, because he actually is sovereign, and I want what's best for them. So I better trust him with them. I blew it again. I can't believe I made this mistake again. I succumbed to this sin again. I drank again, or lusted again, or did the thing again, or got angry again. Okay, maybe Christ is sovereign and he's the life, not your behavior. Trust him about what he is and who you are because of him, and you will grow in the truth. You won't overcome sin because of how much I love you. I'll never do it again. Yes, you will. Good thing your sin or lack of sin is not your life. Christ is your life, and he will lead you out of sin. He will never lead you to sin. You're just not following him. You're following self-righteousness, which will lead you into sin every time. The more you try, the more you'll fail. It's never going to work. You will not overcome sin patterns in your life by trying harder. Your devotion and commitment and recommitment and recommitment is not what's lacking. Your trust of him and following him and being available to him and identifying with him. That's what's lacking. You trying to be the source of overcoming your sin. That's the problem. You can't overcome your bitterness. You got to let go of what other people owe you. No one's denying that they owe you, but they're never going to pay. So you're going to be bitter forever. How about Christ gets to be your life and you'll leave them to him? There is no panic button. He has removed it from you. Because there's no panic when the life you need is the life you have. It's Christ. You need him, you've got him, you're fine. I know that ticks some of you off. Mike, I do need the job. Well, you need God to provide what he's going to provide the way he's going to provide it, or you're going to die like Paul knew in prison and you're going to spend eternity with him. Really, it's a win-win for you. I'm going to die. How and when becomes pretty irrelevant when I stop living for what I want, for my comfort in the moment. Today's a bonus day. I've already been crucified with Christ. I'm no longer doing the living. Today's a bonus day. He gets to do what he wants. The fact that he didn't take me home the moment I received him, my own little personal rapture, the fact that I got to continue living in this body with Jesus after I was crucified with him spiritually, today's just a bonus day. I don't need anything from today. Today's just a bonus day. I've already died. I'm no longer doing the living. I'm letting Christ do what he wants in and through me. And today he wants to show off his sufficiency in my pain. Okay. What is that to me? This is just a bonus day. Tomorrow is another bonus day. What would it look like to no longer have a panic button? You don't have a panic button. You're pressing your kids. You're pressing your job. You're pressing your finances. You're pressing on things that aren't going to work. You no longer have a panic button. Christ has removed it surgically from your soul. It's just a lie. There is no panic when the life that you have is the life that you need. You're just wanting it to be the cause of a life from something else that will never happen. I was going to build bookshelves in this office. We've been remodeling this house that we bought, and I can't afford them. How real is that? And I have been a little bitter that I have stacks of boxes. I have a little channel to get to my desk to do the broadcast through boxes that are packed, 2/3 the way to the ceiling. And it's a wonderful office that I can't use very well because I can't afford the bookshelves that we planned. But the bookshelves are petty. I don't have to justify how I feel about them. I can just embrace that it's just the circumstances of my day to have to crawl between these boxes in pain because my life is Christ, not bookshelves, not pain, not you agreeing with me or being offended by me this morning. This morning, I don't care. I mean, I care about you. I care about you deeply. But if you're a little offended because I'm taking away your excuses, oh well. Pull your $5 donation. God will have to feed me some other way. I don't mean to make light of anything. I really don't. I just think everything is made light of compared to the fullness of Christ. Is that not what Paul said when he said the temporary struggles that we're going through pale in comparison? They're nothing in comparison to the glory that's being revealed through us. So on the one hand, I don't mean to make light of it, and yet I realize I am making light of it. I love getting to do this work with you guys. I could not do it if you didn't partner with me. Your $5 matter to me. But you got to know, God is what I need and God is what I've got. And so you being upset with me is just not that big a deal. Doesn't have to be. Wouldn't that be nice if that was everything? I can love you dearly and not need your approval. You're right. Rich in the comments says, Paul said it, I count it all joy. What a great thing for me to have to give up what I'm entitled to for his sufficiency today. The real fear isn't putting in effort that doesn't pay off. It's not effort. It's not losing effort. I did all of this and I deserve something better. It's not losing effort. It's not losing outcomes. It's really losing control. The real fear is losing control. If I let up on the pressure, then my job, my boss, my employees, my finances, my kids, my wife, my self-esteem is all at risk. Bunk. You're just overvaluing everything but Christ and undervaluing Christ. We escalate emotionally. Trust me, I am. We escalate emotionally because our truest belief, below the theological ideal, our philosophical pontificating about how wonderful God is in our life, under that, our truest belief is that we need something that's at stake in our circumstances. And we're hoping that by saying all the right things and believing all the right things and just skipping along like a little gnat on the water of life and pretending that everything's fine, hoping that false hope will pay off in what's going on in the undercurrent of my soul. We're just pretending we're okay, hoping that God will reward our positive mental attitude. And below that theological idea is this desperation of what's really at stake. And I see a whole lot of presumption and neediness in people's false positivity. Circumstances are hard. Christ is life. And I'm not pretending. But there's no longer a panic button. Because control, my friends, has been posing as responsibility. I've got to do this. Why? I've got to make this happen. I can't let them do that. I can't let them see this. I can't let this issue go. Sure you can. Control, your control has been posing as responsibility. You have been justifying your control issues, calling it responsibility. And circumstance has been pretending to be supply. This circumstance, I have to try to keep controlling because I need it to be what I want it to be. No, you don't. Control has been posing as responsibility, and I am taking away that excuse for your effort and striving. And circumstance has been pretending to be supply, and I am taking away that excuse. Christ is your life. He's enough. You're not in control. You're not responsible for the life that only Christ can live in and through you. And if you're bitter, you're wrong that you're justified, because Christ is your life and no one is taking that away. And if you're panicked because you can't control outcomes, that's called idolatry. Those relationships are not your source. You have no excuse because you're not trusting God. And I totally get it. I mean, it's okay. You're not under condemnation, but your excuse for living that way, for feeling that way, we're taking that away today. You're going to learn to trust God, not to justify your panic. Today's your day. Welcome. I'm going to be in pain and it's going to be fine because Christ is my life, not my comfort. And you're going to have to let your kids grow up in their relationship with God, and you're going to be available to Him for what His love looks like in their life. You're not trying to win them over to anything. You're not going to control their circumstances and outcomes. You get to be useful in God fulfilling His desire for them through you if you're available. But either He's got them or you are without hope. You aren't going to be able to have an excuse for panic anymore. Taking it away. Sorry. Love you. Welcome. I wrote out a formula for this, though I'm kind of regretting it. When we take we must, I must, my responsibility, plus so we can, I have to do this so that I can keep them from ruining their life. I must get this job so that I can pay my mortgage. Well, I realize the need that you're seeing there, but you can't. You can't control whether or not you get the job offer. You can't control the choices your kids make. You can't control what the doctor's going to say when he calls. So why are you panicked? You can't control it. You can't even affect it. You don't even know what your kids need to make better choices. You're just hoping you can control their choices to avoid negative outcomes that you've imagined, and they aren't even the mistakes they're going to make. You aren't even trying to avoid the mistakes they'll actually make. You're not in control. You're not that smart. Neither am I. I can't even figure out the things I need to keep them from doing. We take the we must. I must do this. It's my responsibility, which is just a lie. And we add that to the so I can, as if the outcome I need is the result. And we add we must plus so we can. And that equals panic every time because we can't. We can't do what we must. We cannot be the source of our own responsibilities. So we can't control the outcomes. But listen, God can do what's necessary that you don't even know. But we don't want him to have to. We want to control the outcomes ourselves. If I could control it enough or be justified in being angry, then God doesn't have to. That doesn't sound like freedom in life to me. Paul could easily say, I've got to save all of these guards with Jesus so that they can set me free. Otherwise, I'm going to die. But that's not what he said. He said, to live is Christ. He's going to do what he wants to do. I am along for the Christ in me ride. Mike, you don't understand. I can't let my kids go hungry. Paul was watching the guards sharpen their sword for his neck. God's going to be God today, not me. We don't want him to have to. If I could just meet my own needs, then God doesn't have to meet his needs his way, and I'm not sure I'll like it. I'm not sure I can trust him. I'm not sure he's really enough. So I've got to cause what I want, and what's necessary for me to cause it, I can't do, so I panic. I have dear, dear friends that are coming to visit us today, and my office is a mess, and my back is completely wrecked, and it's not going to be very fun, and it's easy to be concerned for how this weekend is going to go with my dear friends. I didn't get the money that I need for the budget that I have to be able to put the shelves that cost more than I expected in this office, so I'm going to deal with boxes piled up in my office for a while, maybe forever. Is that really going? If I have boxes piled up in here forever, is that really going to devalue my life somehow? What are we talking about, people? I could take all of these out back and set them on fire, and I probably wouldn't even notice they were gone. I just like it. I just prefer that not happen, and I'm literally panicked over preferences. Let me talk about why this freedom from responsibility is really freedom, not passivity. I'm not saying you aren't responsible. I'm saying it's impossible. And you can trust God. And he's your life, not the outcome. Grace does not remove responsibility. It removes self-sourcing. So he's given you kids and you are responsible for them. You had better trust God to be your life, not use your kids for your value. God has given you a relationship for you to be a submissive spouse and an empowering, loving, sacrificial spouse for their sake. You can't do that. You had better trust God to do it because you cannot. You cannot meet the responsibility you've been given. You better trust God, and he had better be your life instead of getting your value from how well you do as a spouse. That's not going to go well for you. The pressure is going to drive you to cope, and the cope is going to undermine your relationship, whatever that is. If you cope with anger, then you're going to hurt the one you're trying to love because you cannot love them well enough. If your coping is lust, you're going to give in to your lust to cope and escape the very relationship you're not able to provide enough for, and you're going to undermine the very relationship that you are responsible for. If your coping mechanism is anxiety, then you're going to undermine the very trust you're trying to earn. Whatever your coping mechanism is, you're going to do that thing because you cannot fulfill your responsibilities to your relationships and your job and your finances and your parenting. And you're going to undermine the very thing you take responsibility for unless the responsibility drives you to dependence and Christ is your source. Because if he's your source, you don't need the outcomes in those relationships, which frees you to actually participate with him in the job, in the relationships, with the kids, in the finances, with the health. You are not in control. So responsibility should drive you to dependence. And Christ is both the source of what you need and the one who can live it through you. Grace does not remove your responsibilities. It removes your idolatry. Because when you no longer need the job to hold you together, you're finally free to be fully present with him in it. Walking with Christ through your job, he's your life, the job is the venue. When you no longer need the relationship to secure you, you're finally free to love sacrificially without bracing for the outcomes of what you don't deserve or what you need from somebody else. He's enough. You can afford to just be available with him, who is your life, in that relationship. He loves them more than you do. Maybe you let him do that through you. Grace does not make you careless. Trusting him is not passive. Grace makes you available because only God is sufficient. Only God is sufficient. Does that make sense? Grace makes you available to listen instead of defend. Grace makes you available to respond instead of react. Grace makes you available to act without self-protection or agenda. Not because you're trying to trust harder. I've got to trust him. I've got to trust him. Let go of your need from everything else but him. Because Christ really is supplying life through you when he's enough for you. Christ is not the goal you're chasing after or the means that you chase some other goal. He is the life you stop protecting when you finally trust he's the source, not you. He's the source, not you. When source is settled, the pressure on every venue is lifted. And I know that's hard. I know that's hard. I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying you should flip a switch and go there. I'm saying this is the real process of growing up. It's okay that you're not there. Do not be condemned. I'm not either. But this is what it really looks like to trust him, and this is how we really grow. So here's a question of the day for you. We need to wrap up. It's 8 o'clock in Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Central. Where today might you be holding on to control because it feels like responsibility? And what would change if you trusted that Christ is already your life in the areas you're trying to control? You might be right or wrong about what you need from the circumstance, but I promise you, you are not sovereign over it. So where today might you be holding on to control because it feels like responsibility? And what would change if you trusted that Christ is already your life in the areas you're trying to control? What conversation would feel lighter if you didn't need an outcome? What if God is, like Catherine I know, is looking for a job, and I'm praying for that for you? You're not wrong to feel frightened that you don't have a job, but the work that God is doing is for you to trust him, not for the job that you need, but that he's enough and he's going to work out what he wants, and to walk through the doors that he opens to you for whatever he's doing. Maybe you get to witness to the 30th job interview person, and that would be worth it. And then he can meet your need however he wants. Maybe it's not that person. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe you actually have to offend someone because of your faith, And he's inviting you to trust him with that. And your faith is going to grow in your interview process more than it ever could in a job. What if him being your life more in your experience is his goal? Wouldn't it be worth it? Doesn't feel like it, and that's okay. But your feelings aren't always the truth. What conversation will feel lighter if Christ really is bringing about his outcome and you don't get to predetermine what that is? What moment would feel less loaded? What decision would feel less threatening? What if you get to walk with him through whatever you think you need, but life is not getting what you need? It's the actual walk with him through it. What if it's actually going through it with the process? You don't want that to be the life, so we keep acting like we believe it, hoping it will cause the outcome that we want. And that never works. You don't get to smile your way through misery, hoping God's going to reward your fake smile. It's not the striving. It's not the proving. It's just learning to trust him in the process. To live really is Christ. For you, my friends, today, to live really is Christ. My hope for you and for me is that we will know Christ today. It is not by how much he blesses me with all of my effort and rewards my positive attitude in quoting a verse. My hope for you is that you would just know him where you walk with him today. That's his hope too, because he's the life, not what you want from him. It's true, it's true, it's true. To live for you really is Christ. So make your goal to know him in the doors that he opens to you as you cross those thresholds for whatever he's going to reveal of himself to you. Live in that freedom. And he can use those to produce whatever he wants. You do not have to manipulate him today or circumstances today. Know Christ today and thereby grow in grace today. Really, really grow in your dependence because he's enough. And as you know him more and grow in grace, that affords you to go love like crazy. It's a one-way life. God to you, Christ through you, love to others. It's a one-way life. From him, in you, through you, to others. It is a one-way life. You never get back from this world. You're only flowing outward until he takes you home. Go love like crazy. Know him, grow in grace. Go love like crazy. And I will see you guys, Lord willing, tomorrow. Thank you. Love you.